Mike, the original 12 college football playoff teams were worth around an estimated $150 million in NIL funds. Using data from media and technology company On3, we analyzed NIL spending across NCAA football. Tonight, we take a closer look at how some of the deals have helped these playoff teams. The game of college football has changed in the last 5 years. Name, image, and likeness profits have coincided with a longer season, increased revenue, and higher stakes.
If you want to win, your NIL has to be almost just as good as your team does.
For the people who say, devil's advocate, these kids are performing, the colleges, the NCAA, TV is making a lot of money on their backs of their performance. So why not get paid?
Exactly. And we've been for it forever. I've been for it forever. The problem is the NCAA never really wanted to get into that part. And what's happened over the years is more and more money has come into these universities.
Republican Alabama Senator and former college football coach Tommy Tuberville is working to address what some argue is an unlevel playing field.
The problem was in 2021, the Supreme Court says, okay, we see this lawsuit and we agree with the athletes. They need to be able to make money off name, image, and likeness. And it has gone downhill from there. And there was no rules put into it. It was just wild, wild west.
Schools with athletes earning more from NIL appear to be succeeding. The teams that qualified for a college football playoff spot also had some of the highest valued rosters.
There is a class within the class of schools across the country that have the best infrastructure, the best systems, the best fundraising, the best corporate deals involved.
A 13-member college football playoff selection committee ranks the top 25 teams. 12 schools received playoff spots, but not all were among the top 12 ranked teams. At the end of the regular season, the 9 major conferences across the Power 4 and Group of 5 held championship games. The 5 winners of those games that were ranked the highest received guaranteed playoff spots. That included schools from each of the Power 4 conferences and the Boise State Broncos of the Mountain West. The Broncos were the only team to qualify among the 62 schools in the Group of 5 conferences. The team also has the most NIL money out of the 62 schools. There's different states that play differently, but there's also different sports and how NIL factors into different sports.
And if you look at that fair market, football really is the only sport that makes big money in intercollegiate athletics. Basketball's next, maybe a little baseball.
The NIL funds for Boise State were a fraction of what teams in other conferences received. Clemson players had the most money among ACC schools. Ohio State topped the Big Ten at more than $20 million. SEC teams saw some of the highest funds. You guys do a lot as far as what you do with these student athletes, what you show them, what you teach them, not only the classes, but what you teach them on the court. Does that get hurt in this process?
Well, it's not gotten hurt at Auburn, and I'm really proud of it. The investment that goes into these student athletes is significant, not only for their athletic careers, their mental health, their training, the academic counseling, and now we're providing them with financial counseling so they can understand, okay, what are we going to do with our money?
Texas is #1 overall with an estimated roster value of $24 million. Georgia is close behind at $23 million. The Longhorns are also considered to have the top recruiting class of 2025. You talk about football. Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama have some of the best recruiting classes, in part because they're spending the most money.
Right. At the end of the day, I think that what's going to have to happen, and we're going to look at this in our new PASS Act, is contracts.
The only Big 12 team in the playoffs is Arizona State. The entire roster had less in valuation than the highest paid player in all of college football, Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. He is the son of Colorado head coach and former dual NFL MLB athlete Deion Sanders.
Well, I think you're always going to have stars.
Blueprint Sports oversees Colorado's collective.
There has been an elite crop of athletes since day one that have always risen to the top, that have always made the most money because they bring a lot more star power than necessarily the rest of the team does, or they spend a long time building their brand.
Colorado players received the most money among Big 12 teams, and while the team is not in the playoff, high-caliber players are on the roster, including Sanders, a projected first-round draft pick, and Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. Is there a way to fix this that makes it more fair, or is this just capitalism college football version?
So what we want to do is just try to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to get whatever they can get. But when you take money, you got to sign a contract.
We're going to win the ACC championship.
Large donor groups known as collectives have inked some of the biggest deals for athletes at playoff schools. Ohio State's 1870 Society has a major partnership with supermarket chain Giant Eagle. Tennessee's quarterback landed an $8 million deal from the Baier Sports Collective before ever signing with the Volunteers.
I think that where the red flag is popping up is there's a lot of money being paid to high school seniors that are coming into college athletics that have never played a down or a minute of college sports before, and you have no idea what you're going to get.
We've got to sort of find a way to make it work for everybody, and that's where I think we need some federal assistance so that each state is not doing their own thing, and we won't have a true NCAA champion.
What's interesting that you say maybe Congress should weigh in. You know, the men and women in that dome behind me, sometimes they can't get their stuff together to fund the government, let alone figure out a messy NIL situation in college football, basketball, and every other sport. So you have confidence that this place can do that?
Well, I think there needs to be some level of liability protection. Look, the fact that these kids are getting compensated is terrific. It's long overdue.
The Texas One Fund combined 5 separate NIL entities and is thought to be the wealthiest in the nation. It has provided quarterback Quinn Ewers with a private jet and every scholarship offensive lineman with $50,000 annually.
I know for a fact that some universities, they bring Lamborghinis and Corvettes and put out front of their office building when they bring these recruits in. It is totally changed. It's big money. It's minor league sports what it is now, Brett.
It's a messy problem, but you have the president-elect who's a sports fan, so maybe he'll weigh in too.
Yeah, but you know, he's got his hands full. But I tell you, there's nothing more important, obvious to me, than college sports, because I've seen what it's done for young people, education-wise and responsibility-wise, and we need to get back to that.
You can watch one bowl game on Fox later this week. Syracuse and Washington State face off in the Holiday Bowl. Coverage begins 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. We'll send it back to you.